Salt was so valuable in the 1800 that it sparked armed conflicts, price-fixing cartels, and the collapse of entire regional economy. Most of us don't think about salt. It costs $1 a box. We use it, forget it, move on. But there was a time in American history when salt was treated like oil, fought over, monopolized, and taxed so heavily that entire towns depended on controlling its supply. And the system that emerged to manage it was so fragile that when it finally broke, it took down fortunes with it. Exhibit 1, salt's value wasn't arbitrary. In the 1800s, salt was the primary way to preserve food. No refrigeration, no canning technology that worked reliably. If you wanted meat, fish, or vegetables to survive winter, salt was non-negotiable. That meant every household, every butcher, every fishing operation needed a steady supply. Demand was inelastic, people couldn't choose not to buy it. Exhibit 2, salt production wasn't evenly distributed. The major saltworks clustered in specific regions: upstate New York, the Onondaga region, parts of Ohio, and the coastal areas. If you lived far from a saltworks, you were dependent on whoever controlled the nearest supply. That dependency created leverage, and leverage historically gets exploited. By the 1820s, salt producers had figured out what every monopolist figures out: they could fix prices. Producers in the same region agreed to keep prices artificially high. It wasn't written down explicitly, it was an understanding. Don't undercut each other. Keep the price floor steady. Consumers had nowhere else to go. The system worked. For a while, prices stayed high. Saltworks owners accumulated wealth. Then came the feedback loop that no monopoly can control: competition from outside the cartel. When the Erie Canal opened in 1825, it changed everything. Suddenly, salt from upstate New York could be shipped cheaply across the state and beyond. The cartel's stranglehold weakened instantly. New producers entered the market, prices dropped. The established saltworks, which had built their entire business model on scarcity, suddenly faced abundance. They panicked. Some cut prices to compete. Others doubled down, trying to maintain the old pricing. The system fractured. Exhibit 3, the price wars got brutal. In some regions, prices dropped by 50% in less than a decade. Saltworks that had been profitable for decades suddenly operated at a loss. Workers were laid off. Towns that had grown around these operations faced economic collapse. The cartel couldn't hold. You can't maintain an agreement when your survival depends on breaking it. What happened next is the crucial part, the part that shows why this system was predictable to collapse. Smaller producers went bankrupt. Larger operations consolidated. A few major players absorbed the competition. By the 1840, the industry had restructured into something closer to what we'd recognize as modern competition: multiple large producers, lower prices, higher volume. But here's what's instructive for understanding any market. The people who saw this collapse coming weren't celebrated. They were the ones who'd predicted that monopolistic pricing attracts competition, that abundance destroys scarcity-based business models, that cartels fail when entry barriers fall. They were right. They just weren't powerful enough to stop it. The salt wars didn't just reshape an industry. They demonstrated a principle that economists have been testing ever since. When you create artificial scarcity, you create the conditions for your own displacement. The cartel members thought they were building something permanent. They were actually building the incentive structure for their own replacement. By the Civil War era, salt was cheaper and more abundant than it had ever been. The economic crisis that nearly destroyed saltworks owners had become, paradoxically, a public good. Everyone benefited from lower prices. Food preservation became more affordable. The artificial bottleneck had been broken. The pattern repeats. You see it in oil in the 20th century. You see it in tech monopolies today. Someone controls a scarce resource, they price it high. The high price attracts competitors. The cartel fractures, prices fall. The original players either adapt or disappear. It's not a failure of the market. It's the market working exactly as the incentive structure predicts it will. What made the salt wars predictable wasn't hindsight. It was understanding the feedback loops. When you control supply and raise prices, you create profit signals that say enter this market. When enough competitors enter, you lose control. When you lose control, prices fall. When prices fall below cost, producers exit. When they exit, prices stabilize. It's mechanical, it's inevitable. The lesson isn't about salt specifically. It's about how systems respond to pressure. Build a cartel and you've built an incentive for someone else to break it. Create high prices and you've created a profit opportunity for competitors. Restrict supply and you've signaled that there's money in abundance. The system corrects itself, sometimes painfully, but it corrects. The salt producers of the 1800s weren't stupid. They understood their business. What they didn't account for was that their success had already planted the seeds of their failure. Every dollar of profit they extracted from scarcity was a signal to the market. There's money here. And signals, once sent, get answered. So when we look at any industry today, whether it's pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, or streaming services, and we see high prices and concentrated control, we're looking at a system that's already generating the conditions for its own transformation. The cartel is already failing. It just doesn't know it yet. The competitors are already coming. The question is only timing. The salt wars ended not because someone won, but because the system that created them couldn't sustain itself. That's the real story. Not victory or defeat, but the inevitable mathematics of incentives and feedback loops. And that's a pattern worth understanding because it shows up everywhere. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research. If you want to understand the hidden systems that shape markets and economies, subscribe. There's a new deep dive into economic history and business mechanics every week. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research.